Hi, good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Dan. This is Engelgeist. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much. If you want to support me over on Patreon, you can check out patreon.com at Engelgeist333, and you can pick a subscription level over there. They do get the daily forecast a day early. There's also levels where you can get free charmings and things like that. So that's available to you. What was I going to say? You can also follow my Instagram at Engelgeist333, or just share out the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like my business page on Facebook, or you could book a private reading if you like. That's all done through the message system over my business page on Facebook. So you can check that out. All of that stuff is linked in the upper right hand corner on YouTube. And if you're watching this via Facebook somewhere, you can backtrack it back to the business page. So this is the daily forecast for Saturday the 18th. This is the end of the week for us. We always do a Sunday to Saturday forecast. So we had all of those chakra cards this week. I hope that you guys were able to hover in your higher chakras. I'm going to be honest, I was not. I got into my emotions quite a bit this week, but that's okay. Doesn't necessarily mean I did anything wrong. If those of you who have struggled or had a hard time, that's okay. There's still an opportunity here today to kind of rise up and sort of see who we want to be or where we want to approach life from and attempt to do that for the day. I kind of have this idea of if there's any last minute stragglers, we may want to. This is taped a day early, so it's really only Friday. So technically, we still have 2 more days, but you'll be seeing this Saturday morning. So you have all this Saturday and this forecast to kind of inspire you, hopefully. This is a message for the highest and greatest good of the greater collective. So if it doesn't ring true for you, that's completely fine. It is for a broad spectrum group of people. But if it does, that's great. Take it and run with it. The other thing I want to say is I do believe that these are timeless messages. So when I ask for them, when I ask for the highest and greatest good of the greater collective, it's such a broad message that it could mean that it could be valuable to you at a different time. So if you're seeing this and it's not the 18th of April, don't worry about that. It might be a message that you need to hear, or that has found its way to you and you're ready for it at the time that you're seeing it. So these videos don't die once the day is over necessarily. Okay, so that's sort of the intention behind these videos. So I hope that this gives you insight into what's going on. So let's look at what's happening for the 18th. Interesting. So yesterday we had a 2. We had the 2 of, wasn't it Pentacles? I believe it was the 2 of Pentacles. Let me just double check that. I think it was. It was the waiting game, it was called. It was, no, I'm sorry, it was the 2 of Wands. This is actually the 2 of Pentacles. Okay, so this is interesting to me. This card here is called Movement, Choices, Decisions. And yesterday, with that 2, there was also an idea of choices. Now, I guess this deck is by John Holland. With John Holland, his deck, he talks about 2s representing the idea of choice, which makes sense to me because 2s are choosing between one thing or another. But when I think of 2s, I think of like the deepening of relationships or coming together. And that doesn't necessarily mean a coming together of with an outside party. This could be the coming together with oneself, like the deepening or the understanding of oneself, right? And when I look at this card, I love all of the different colors here. It feels like the chakra system is really up for grabs. And we were looking at those chakra cards throughout the early part of the week. As we end out this week, are we choosing a certain item or a certain chakra to work out of? Are we aware of that? To me, this is generally would be a material sort of experience or level card, right? It's being the 2 of Pentacles, which to me kind of signifies connecting and sort of, bringing into balance one's sort of material world. This could be our deepening or a better understanding of our material world, coming to peace with it, coming to terms with it, um, uh, settling ourselves. I kind of feel like, and I mean that in a good way, I kind of feel as I'm looking at these, it feels like the sort of chakras are kind of maybe lining back up, or we're sort of able to, look at sort of where we're at and accommodate for that, no matter what is going on, right, in these different chakra systems. And that's the way that I'm seeing this right now, or the way that it's sort of talking to me. Um, and as we're acknowledging that in our sort of day-to-day life, because we are sort of in this, experience where we're spending more time with ourselves than we ever have. And maybe this reflection is actually benefiting us because it's getting us to this deepening relationship, this two here within our own self and our own energy system at a very core sort of base level, the base chakra. Like there is this focus on the red here. That to me feels like it's bringing awareness about within us that hopefully we're about to bring into our day-to-day life. This movement, choices, and decisions feels like it is also time for us to begin to start to decide what is it that we want next. What is it that we want to sort of manifest? And that's where we were at with these higher level chakra cards this week, I think, is it's that sort of shift in perception as we begin to turn the corner with this whole experience. Who do we want to be going forward? Do we want things to go back to being the same? Have we even thought about that? Are we really ready for things to go back to being the same? Or do we want to start to create something new? And when I think about that sort of new creation, that's sort of the choice of the decision here that we get to make. And we need to sort of ask ourselves or reference ourselves and begin to check that, or where do we fit in with that? How does that work for us, right? Um, so I'm just going to read the definition of this card just because I want to. This card indicates a time of movement. Significant changes and choices must be made. With hard work, great effort, and determination, you have the ability to juggle all the demands that are in front of you, whether they concern money, business decisions, or other projects. It's important to stay flexible and focused. You do not have to do it alone. Reach out for the best advice and assistance. In addition, a financial union or partnership may present itself to you. The more time you take to make these vital decisions and choices, the longer it will be before you can move toward your goals in the physical material world. The changes that are emerging aren't some random acts or coincidences. They're all part of a positive and larger scheme. Notice the connections with everything, as this will enable you to avoid future problems and conflicts. So, I love the definition of this card, but I really do also feel like this is us lining up our awareness to probably a new perception of ourselves. And can we actually do that? I've been sort of reflecting on that the last few days. It's sort of like, do I really want things to go back to normal? Do I want things? What is the next thing that I want? That's why I've been sort of contemplating whether or not I'm going to continue doing this reading business. Because as much as I love doing it and I feel like it's my purpose, I'm not sure that it's making the impact that I wanted it to. So I'm trying to figure out what needs to change within this structure so that I can either move forward. Does that make sense, guys? So when I'm talking about this, I feel like we need to be checking in with all of our sort of energy centers and deepening that relationship and that awareness so that we know what decisions we need to make so that we can move forward into the next phase of our material development, or how our world's going to look when we do come out of this sort of self-introspection. Okay, let's look at the vibrational energy deck really quick and see what it has to say. It's interesting we had those twos today, yesterday and today. So it's like we are definitely looking at where we want to be in the world and how we want to emerge from this scenario. And I think that we may have, a month or two to make those decisions. So now is the time to be looking at that stuff. So this is driving forces. Again, this speaks to me about what is, where are we going? Where are we deciding, like, when I look at the determination in these eyes and this sort of like idea or this sort of world, right? This red planet, this sort of idea, before when this card's come up in the past, it sort of has um, made me feel like we're separating ourselves from what the situation that's going on in our current day-to-day world. And that might be the case with this card here, but to me I feel like coupled with this too, this is about us getting very clear on where do we want to go and how do we want to get there. And we need to like see the road and take it with a determination, emanate that sort of vibration out, that signal, and allow it to kind of push us towards that. There's a clarity here, there's an awareness here that we need to sort of, like this card said in the definition, we need to make that decision fairly clearly at this time. And so, if we don't, it's just going to further prolong us in moving forward. And so I feel like this driving forces card backing it up does feel like what we're focusing on is sort of what we're creating more of, right? And so we need to be aware of that, and we need to be aware of the fact that right now we get to sort of shift and change and pursue the next sort of I don't know, the next chapter or the next route. It brings me back to that an open book yesterday, which also spoke to this idea of creating for the next chapter and heading towards that. We need to get sort of a precise idea of what it is we want and then going after it. So keeping that in mind, I would say checking in with our energy centers this Saturday, getting clear on what our goals are. If we don't have clear goals because we feel like everything is up in the air, which I certainly can relate to, we may need to spend this day reflecting on what is it that we want. How is it that we want it? Do we believe that we can have it? What are the driving forces behind our actions and choices that we're making? And if we feel that our choices are limited due to this situation in the world or an environment around us, where can we unlimit those decisions? Where can we start to find creation or the ability to sort of get back into sort of the driver's seat of our life, right? Um, It says here, I'm just going to read this to you guys. We all need goals. The objective is that somewhere inside the vibration moves us into the right direction to do what needs to be done when it is required. It is all about timing, so be very aware and conscious that if you push or force something too hard, it will evaporate right before your eyes. Be perceptive and sense when it is right to set things into motion, and be ready to move. So again, when they're talking about being perceptive and sensing it, because there is like a sort of butterfly here around her face, it's like this idea of transformation. We need to be ready to move to the next chapter, but we need to be very clear on what that next chapter is for us by sort of checking in with ourselves. I hope that you guys are doing that at this time. Let's see what the grounding stone is. Okay, and the grounding stone is faith, guys. So this is faith in ourselves, faith in our world, faith in our higher power or our God, whatever that may be. Keeping that faith sort of strong within us so that we can do this work, so that we can make these decisions and choices and move forward at the right time, with the right intention, with the idea of transformation, with the idea of sort of freedom, and the faith that that is possible even during times like this where we feel so restricted. I hope that makes sense. That is your forecast for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay in faith today, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the weekly. All right, have a great day. I love you. Bye-bye.